Hello everyone, welcome to my Black Ops Cold War Realism walkthrough, and this is Mission 4, Red Light, Green Light. And as I predicted in Mission 3, there is the return of stealth. So this mission follows the very same format as Mission 3, where it's going to begin with a stealth sequence, followed by a combat sequence, only the combat sequence that occurs in this mission is a difficulty spike. This is where the game is going to start getting difficult. But the stealth sequence is pretty simple. So get rid of those 4 guys, and then go ahead and run in this direction. There is a chance that there could be a guy walking towards you, so you'll have to take him out. And instead, it doesn't happen in this recording, so I'm just going to crouch past this guy, and then I'm going to start sprinting. And then I'm always going to kill this guy coming up by grabbing him as a human shield, and then taking him behind this truck over here, terminating him, and then moving on. And then there's going to be a moment where there's 2 guys right in front of you. You need to wait for the guy over there to start moving to the right. Make sure you don't sprint because the enemies can hear you while you're sprinting. Wait for this guy to go to the right, and then grab this guy as a human shield, and he will not have a chance to detect you. Now I'm just going to terminate him, and now I'm just going to make my way over to the doorway. So this mission, I came across some hilarious bugs, and I included them in the blooper section, which is why this level is 12 minutes long, when in actuality it's roughly 8 minutes long for the actual time it took me to beat this. And I also had my first game crash during this mission. I don't know why it happened, but it's odd. I'm hopeful that there won't be any crashes in the later missions, because I think the circumstances in which the crashes are triggered are incredibly rare to put yourself into. And I think that's what happened in my case. I think I put myself in a situation where, because I died under unique circumstances, it triggered the crash. But other than that, no big deal. And also, after you kill those 2 enemies, go to that back locker and pick up the Krieg 6 before you actually do this sequence right here. Because the Krieg 6 will be very helpful in clearing out any enemies and also for complementing the human shield mechanic. And now we're just going to trigger a combat encounter right here, which it's such a shame that you can't do this stealthily. But I will say, though, the environment for this is pretty cool. The first time I came across the arcade area, I'm just like, what in the hell is this? It was so funny. It has to be one of the most hilarious moments ever in the Call of Duty series for me. But stay in this area right here and use the Type 63 to take out these enemies. It's a 2-shot kill, unless you can go for a headshot. There are a lot of enemies in this encounter, and you have to make sure that you kill these enemies before you exit this building, because the moment you exit this building, you will trigger the spawning of a vehicle, and it will spawn enemies. And speaking of enemies, we're going to be encountering an enemy type later on, which is essentially a hark back to Modern Warfare 2's Juggernauts. And these enemies are way better than the Juggernauts from Modern Warfare 2, because they're a lot more balanced, and well, for one thing, they have to reload, and during the time they're reloading, they're incredibly vulnerable. And you also have the ability to shoot their helmets off if you maintain continuous fire on their helmets. The first heavy that you come across, you'll have to take it out with bullets, or by using the explosive barrels in the room. The next couple of heavies, you're able to take them out using the rocket launcher, and it takes 2 rockets to kill these enemies. Seems a bit excessive, but I guess it's better than nothing. At least it's not like 10 rockets or anything greater than that. But I'm just about to clear out these enemies before I make my move, and once that guy is dead and there's no more enemies on the streets, this is where I'm going to equip the Krieg 6, and I'm just going to make a mad dash, hugging the right-hand side as I'm making my way over to the end of this area. Now, these enemies have a very hard time trying to shoot you, and that's really good design. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a wide angle, and I'm going to grab one of these enemies as a human shield. I'm going to fire my Krieg 6 as fast as I can to take out these enemies, and I need to turn to ensure that the enemies do not shoot me. And now I'm just going to take the time to take out these enemies right over here. And this is where the aggressive play really comes into play, because you'll notice I'm able to take out these enemies with ease. If this was the normal Call of Duty, I would have been dead, because they were very passive designs, and the enemies always have the advantage over you, but at least it feels a lot more balanced in this game. And also, you might have noticed there was a trim there with me just transitioning to a human shield. I just grabbed that shotgunner who was in front of me, and then I took out the rest of the enemies. Very simple. But before you drop down here, grab the frag grenades. Frag grenades are going to be very helpful. Hatchets are going to be completely useless. And we are fighting the heavy. So either you can wait for this guy to reload, or you can stun this guy with the explosive barrels, or by maintaining continuous fire on his helmet. It's all very simple, and be careful here. This guy has the ability to throw stun grenades, so the stun grenades will stun you for a very long time, and you are heavily vulnerable to gunfire. But he's dead, and now we just need to take out these enemies. So these enemies can choose to spawn later on. I don't know why they decided to spawn in a lot earlier than usual, so I wasn't able to take him out with a grenade. But at least the Krieg 6 really helps right here, and you have really good cover. Now, after this enemy is dead, there's going to be a small skirmish coming up with 2 enemies. So use your Krieg 6 to take them out and make sure you're not rushing too quickly. And then we're going to progress onward, where we're going to be encountering an APC that will be firing at us, but it's all just cinematic fluff, which is really good design. If this was any other Call of Duty game, I imagine the APC would be able to damage you, and it'd just be complete RNG. But at least that's not the case here. There's going to be a couple of enemies coming up in a moment, and what you're going to have to do is you need to hug the left-hand side of this upcoming area and grab one of the enemies as a human shield before they have a chance to kill you. Then what you're going to have to do is you need to kill this one enemy that's on your side so that he doesn't get the drop on you. And you need to kill these enemies as they're rappelling down. There's also going to be a couple of enemies right in front of you near the doorway that you need to use in order to get out of here. So maintain fire on them. And I was unfortunately unable to kill these enemies before the human shield ran out. So you need to take cover if this happens. And once again, the Krieg 6 is really useful right here. Look at it, it's such a good weapon, and it doesn't seem to have that much recoil. But that might just be me. Maybe with the way I was handling this weapon, it made it seem like there wasn't any recoil. So don't trust me on that. But now we're about to make our way over to the final encounter of this mission, which is the hardest part of this mission. And it's going to involve you setting up in power positions. There are 2 power positions that I found for this sequence. And you need to kind of remain on the move in order to ensure that the enemies aren't going to be prioritizing you too much. Because I'm going to be taking advantage of when the AI decides to prioritize woods. But grab the rocket launcher, fire it at that vehicle to kill off any enemies near the vehicle. This guy decides to push up, so I'm going to have to use the rocket launcher on him. It's going to take 2 rockets, as I said before. And at least it stuns him after the first rocket. So there's the first hit. It knocks his helmet off every time. And then the second hit will always kill him. Now what's going to happen is you should probably try to get to the other side, but as you're making your way over to the other side, you'll want to grab this RPD. The RPD is going to be really helpful here, because it has a lot of ammo, and it's a really good weapon. And it has a ACOG sight on it. I think this is an ACOG sight. I'm not too familiar with the sights in Call of Duty, but use this time to take out any enemies that are on this side. And you'll notice that a vast majority of them seem to be preoccupied with woods. And yeah, see that? That is really helpful right there. So use that to your advantage and you'll be fine. But just be aware that there might be a high possibility of an enemy instantly turning around or just shifting their attentions towards you. So always keep that in mind when you're trying to take out these enemies. I mean, I can't remember how much it happened to me, but it didn't happen too much. But I'm going to assume it is a possibility given that it's a Call of Duty AI system we're talking about. There's only 2 enemies left, and this guy is somehow very accurate while he's running with his gun. See that? That is AI behavior 101. There's nothing believable about that. No one in their right mind would ever try to blind fire a pistol at that range and be able to hit someone easily. So stupid. But this is the final enemy right here, and somehow my rocket misses. That's like right next to him, and it somehow didn't affect him with splash damage. Very odd. But once you've gotten inside the APC, this is all very easy because it's almost impossible to die because of how well designed the sequence is. And I originally thought that this was going to be one of the worst parts right here because I remember in Serbian 17's walkthrough of Black Ops 1, there was a sequence in Rebirth Island where you're inside of an APC and you're playing as Hudson, and there's a moment where you turn and there are a couple enemies outside of your field of view that you cannot shoot because there's a limit to how much you can turn when you're on the APC in Black Ops 1. And it was definitely one of the worst parts of the game for Seraph 17 for sure. And I thought it was going to be the same case here, but it turns out it's not the case. It's just a really fun cinematic moment, and never, ever put in player agency when it comes to cinematic moments. It will always cause the cinematic moments to always be bad. That is just something that a lot of developers never seem to get, yet they still do it. And it definitely shows that they don't design their games around the hardest difficulty, but at least Treyarch had brains this time. And that right there was a trim that PlayStation did. There's a moment where 2 APCs are in front of you. You just need to shoot one of the APCs, and then Woods will be able to ram right through the other one. But that is the end of that mission, and now for some bloopers. And this one right here, this is some multiplayer level bugs right here. Why is this a thing in the campaign? I've never seen anything like that. That's the kind of thing that only happens in the multiplayer when it comes to latency. And then right here, you might have noticed I didn't get a hit marker on that guy. Well, because I didn't get a hit marker on that guy, the game classes him as being alive, so this dead body is firing at me, and I died. And now for this moment right here, where the same latency issue happens again, and I ended up rapid firing this weapon, and my ammo counter starts going nuts, which is so odd. And once again, the same issue happens, and this was originally going to be a part of the main recording if I successfully did this, which is why in this one right here, I try to get past this guy by just sliding down and then moving at the right moment. But sadly, I wasn't able to save it as part of the main recording for this walkthrough. But now we're going to move on right here, and this is an infinite loading screen, and I know I said this video was originally going to be 12 minutes long, but I've shortened it down to this length. So, I don't know why this infinite loading screen happened, but there is no reason infinite loading screen should still be a thing, and this is the PS4 version, and it's such a shame I can't get a PS5 right now because of the way Sony handled their online retail system, which is to say, it was an absolute mess, and it has to be the worst online system I have ever seen a company utilize. I mean, did they not expect people to be using bots? The whole reason people have been unable to get a PS5 is because a lot of people have been using bots to buy up dozens of PS5s, and then selling them at very high prices. It's so scummy of a practice, but somehow that didn't register on Sony's radar. And if I had a PS5, maybe I wouldn't be encountering this issue with loading at all, or maybe all these other bugs. But what do I know? I don't understand how a high-end company like Sony could make such a blunder in such an online system. All because of COVID. But can't they just maintain simple standards of just face masks and social distancing in order to hand out PS5s and not screw up like they did with an online service? I don't know. I don't really understand what Sony was thinking at the time. It's so stupid. But that has been this mission. Stay tuned for the future missions. Thank you all for watching, and you take care now.